Yes, guys, what's going on? So, not be feeling too well, but yeah, I decided I really wanted to do this video. I've been working today, and even though I'm ill, but yeah, I've been just doing a bit of work today, and been quite active on Twitter in between, working, and kicked off the little talk. I often talk about Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is, for those of you who don't know, my favorite fighter in boxing. Not necessarily the best. I'm not ever saying he's pound for pound the best, but he's definitely my most favorite fighter in my personal humble opinion. So I want to talk a little bit about Mike Tyson, and going back a few years ago, I met the infamous legend Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier came to my home city. He came to a local boxing club. I went there and I met Joe Frazier, and I asked him a question. I said, Joe, what would happen if Mike Tyson tried to mix it with you guys? He said that Mike Tyson would not be able to last, and he wouldn't have the gas to, this is what he said. He said Mike Tyson wouldn't have the gas to last with myself, Ali, and Foreman. He'd gas out. Very interesting what he said, because Mike Tyson did tend to gas out, but I'm going to explain a few things about Mike Tyson, technically speaking. Now, I've boxed quite a lot in my life, I'd say. Like, I'm 23, hitting 24 now, right, this month. In my life, I've done a lot of rounds. I've gone to a lot of gyms, and I've done a lot of sparring, and it's just something I still do now and again. And I've practiced and I've tried different styles. And I'm going to say something. The Peekaboo style of boxing, which I currently, when I jump in the ring, and I've been doing this for a while now, the Peekaboo style of boxing, or the Joe Frazier style, you can even say. It's like, the bob and weave style. Peekaboo is very different to Joe Frazier style. But trying that style, I'll tell you something that I've noticed. The biggest downside to it is the amount of energy that it consumes. It takes so much energy to fight in the style of Peekaboo boxing that anything above 4 or 5 rounds, average people can't hack it. Even if your conditioning is very good, it's very difficult, extremely difficult. If you fight in the style of, say, a general orthodox style of boxing, you can put them all in the same category: Sugar Ray Robinson, Ray Leonard, Muhammad Ali, Floyd Mayweather even. It's more traditional boxing, where you're moving and you're jabbing, you're crossing. That's more a traditional style, and them fighters all have a different style of fighting. Obviously, they all utilize different things, but more or less, the jab, the cross, the moving, it's very similar. And then you have the other style, okay, which is the other side, which is the Marcus Maidana style, the Joe Frazier style, the Mike Tyson style, the bobbing, the weaving, the inside fighters, the hookers, the knockout artists, Lucas Matisse, these style fighters, right? Jake LaMotta, So boxing's got two different styles. The boxer versus, you want to call it a brawler or a puncher? I don't call it necessarily that. I think Mike Tyson was a very educated boxer, I don't think that they're not just brawlers who go in, with no mentality, no game plan. They have a very strong game plan, and their game plan is to cut the ring off, get inside, throw their hooks off, and knock you out. Okay, finish it within the distance usually. But the reason that Mike Tyson's style is so energy consuming is this, because I've done it like loads. I've practiced it. I'm not the best at it, but I understand it enough to know this, right? That when you're sparring, you're doing bag work's one thing, but when you're sparring or when you're fighting in the ring, the main trouble that you have is catching your opponent. Because when you jab, a jab doesn't take much energy. When you throw that right cross, it doesn't take much energy. But when you jab and you throw a hard left hook and you miss, right, it takes up so much energy that I can't really explain it to you, but within one round, you can be gassed if you don't pace yourself correctly. Whereas when you're fighting in an orthodox style, the boxer style, you take it past 7, 8 rounds with a fighter who's like that, and you're able to jab them when they're coming in. You can frustrate them and beat them on points because they get gassed out, and later on in the rounds, you can beat them. This is the thing about Mike Tyson's Peekaboo style of boxing, Cus D'Amato's style of boxing, that Floyd Patterson, Tyson, hell, even Frazier, right? They were very good fighters for the short haul, but as the rounds went later, you'd start to see that they weren't as effective. Now, I'm going to say this, that Joe Frazier had a lot more stamina than Tyson. But the reason he had more stamina and the reason he was better later on is because Joe Frazier, it wasn't because his conditioning was better. I don't think his fitness was better than Tyson's. I think Tyson was fitter than Frazier. But Tyson, in 5 rounds, is more faster. I think he potentially could hit harder. But more or less, I'd say like punching power is very similar between Tyson and Frazier. But I think maybe Frazier could be a bit like a harder hitter. I don't really know. I've not been in there with him. I won't lie to, but the speed differential between Tyson's footwork and Frazier's footwork, Tyson's head movement, Frazier's head movement, is just totally different. Tyson was a lot faster. Tyson was a lot more. He was a boxer mover and he could bang on the inside really hard. So this is the thing about Tyson. Tyson for 5 rounds is unbelievable. He'll make you miss. He'll make you pay. That's why he had such a high knockout ratio. That's why he was such a killer. Someone like Ali, if Ali could survive 12 with Tyson, all right, he would win. Survive 14 rounds, he'd win. Foreman, last a few rounds against Tyson, he'd win because even Foreman, he doesn't use that head movement. You know when you're moving your head constantly, right? And you see, throwing a jab doesn't take too much energy. Moving your head to avoid a jab, that takes a lot of energy. And this is the thing with the whole Peekaboo style of boxing, that the head movement, the way you punch, really engaging in all your shots, you're going for the knockout within 5 rounds. But if that opponent lasts more than 5 rounds, you can still win because you'll have boxed off 5 rounds. You can take it easy, and if you're really fit, you know, you can last the full long haul. But if you're in front of a killer like Muhammad Ali or a George Foreman, you know, a superb, tall, rangy fighter who can. And George Foreman and Ali are 2 different styles, right? But get this, they don't bob and weave so much. You know, Foreman used his hands. He was like a. You know what? You could compare George Foreman to a Jack Johnson. Call me crazy, but when Jack Johnson used to fight, he used to parry with his gloves. George Foreman used to parry with his gloves as well. Okay, and George Foreman used to throw the uppercuts, hard shots. And in my opinion, if Tyson fought Foreman, either Tyson knocks him out in 5 or Foreman knocks him out in 9. You see what I'm saying? Or 10. Foreman would knock Tyson out late, in my opinion, right? If Tyson couldn't get him out there early. Ali, in my opinion, again, same thing. Tyson would knock him out within 6, right? Because he was a 5 to 6 round unbelievable fighter. And the lesser fighters, he could go 12 with them. But the more superb boxers like Ali and them guys, they would frustrate Tyson later on. Hell, even a prime Larry Holmes, right, who Tyson beat, right? A prime Larry Holmes takes Tyson past 7-8. And Tyson's in for, you know, a lot of trouble. Or maybe Tyson will win on points if he can survive against Larry Holmes. This was the problem with Tyson. Tyson, when he was off his prime, Mike Tyson, right? And you can't really compare the prime Mike Tyson to an off-prime Mike Tyson, because if you get the 2 videos, right, of Tyson when he was in his young days, right, where he was just so fast and so ferocious, you compare Tyson then in comparison to the Tyson who fought Lennox Lewis. And people love to do this, who hate Tyson, right? Who just get... I don't know why there's a hate there, but there's a hate there definitely for Mike Tyson. If you look at Tyson in his prime, and you look at Tyson when he fought Holyfield and Lewis, there's a totally different fighter in that ring. The speed was not there. And once you take away Tyson's speed, his head movement no longer is no longer as effective, because in my opinion, boxing, speed and boxing is the most important thing. Without that, you can't land on your opponent, you can't avoid punches from your opponent, and especially in the Peekaboo style of boxing, you need speed, not necessarily power, because power doesn't really mean too much if you can't land. You know what I'm saying? So this is the thing, right? Like, I'm just gonna show you a quick clip here of it's going to be a little bit like hazy in terms of like the quality and whatnot, but you'll understand what I mean in a second. Okay, so let's just have a quick glimpse of Tyson versus Holyfield, right? And hopefully you guys will get to understand kind of what I mean. So look at Tyson Holyfield, right? Look at the speed here of Tyson. Let's just watch them. Okay, there's Tyson, there's Holyfield. Okay, look at Tyson's. Okay, look at his just look at his feet. Okay, obviously you're gonna have to watch a little bit of the grappling or whatnot, But just take a look at Tyson's footwork and his speed, right? Because people love to point towards Tyson's losses, and say that if these guys beat him, he would get easily outclassed by Muhammad Ali and easily outclassed by so many different fighters, and he's not even a top 20 pound for pound fighter. I tend to disagree, because look, like 100% how slow and ineffective Tyson is in this fight, and I don't think it is because of Holyfield. Because let's just forget about Holyfield for a second. Let's just look at just look at Tyson. Forget about the opponent in front of him. Let's look at Tyson's approach. Look how slow he is. Very, very slow. Very slow. Okay? Very lethargic. No speed. No bounciness. Right? Look, the head movement is a lot slower. It's because he bulked up a lot and he was old, basically. Now, let's compare this Tyson. Now look, you can see there very clearly, Tyson there, at this point in his career, he was pretty much gone. Let's look at a younger Mike Tyson when he's just... Listen, okay, this infamous video here, right? Look, he's a young kid there. He's a young kid there. But you can straight away see the speed of Mike Tyson is just unbelievable when he was young and he was ferocious. And yeah, he lost against Buster Douglas, but he was getting knocked down by sparring partners. He was probably on drugs at the time, you know, coked up out of his head. Not something that you want to be doing as a fighter. So I really feel that when Buster Douglas beat Tyson, I just think it was a really bad night for Tyson. I think Tyson, when he's on a good night, he's done a good training session, because them weeks before it just mean everything. And Tyson, even then, right, even in the Buster Douglas fight where he did lose, he actually won that fight because Buster Douglas didn't meet the 10 count. You can't talk about anything else. Like I said, right, to go up. Now, okay, so we looked at the Holyfield fight, right? Let's take a look against Larry Holmes, right? Look at Tyson here. Just look at his approach. Okay. Just automatically, you can see with that, just even though that punch missed, look at his head movement. Can you see how much quicker he is? He's a lot faster. Let's just have a look at this for a second. Okay, look at his head movement. Look at how much more busier he is in the fight. This is midway through the fight as well. They're both midway points in the fight. Okay? Look at his footwork. Look, you see how he's bouncing? Look at he's bouncing. Look at that, he's fast. By the way, the camera is showing him as a southpaw. Tyson isn't a southpaw. But can you see the bounciness in his footwork? This man right here, in his prime, okay, was an animal, okay? He was an unbelievable fighter, a boxer. He was trained by the great Cus D'Amato, who trained Floyd Patterson, who was really good friends with Muhammad Ali. He was a scholar of boxing. To say that the style of Cus D'Amato perfected, which was perfected by Mike Tyson, is something that could easily get beat, I think it's a disrespect to the sport of boxing on a whole. It's a disrespect to the history of boxing, because not only are you dissing Tyson, you're actually dissing the style of Cus D'Amato. You're dissing a man in Cus D'Amato who perfected that style over many, many years with different fighters he experimented with. And by the time he got to Tyson, Tyson was a fighter who was conditioned to fight. He had natural punching power, he had natural speed, and he was conditioned to become a fighter. He was conditioned to become a fighter. So, you know, I mean, look, okay, fresh round. Look at the bounciness. Look at the bounciness in Tyson's footwork compared to the Holyfield fight. Just the natural speed and athleticism of Tyson. It's there, you know? And I'm not even going to say that this Larry Holmes fight is Tyson at his... Well, he was pretty good here. But I don't know, man. I feel like there are fights where Tyson performed better, where he's more bouncing on his feet. But you could just see here, his head movement's faster. His everything, man. Just everything about Mike Tyson is just way better. Just faster. And that speed means everything. Everything with this style. So, in my opinion, right, people who compare Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis, right, it's like, okay, I'm going to say it like this, yeah? This is what I'm going to say. I'm going to say this, that Mike Tyson almost beat Evander Holyfield. It was a close fight in the first fight. It wasn't... Evander Holyfield did not wipe him. Tyson won some rounds. He won several rounds. But... And then later on, you know, we know what happened with Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson. But, look, man. Mike Tyson, if he did that when he was flat-footed, and he was slow, and he was lethargic. And he even hurt Lennox Lewis when he was slow and he was lethargic. This is why everyone says that the fans of Mike Tyson, I'm a fan of Mike Tyson, this is why we say, and I say this, that Mike Tyson in his prime would beat Evander Holyfield. Because if you can win 4 or 5 rounds against Evander Holyfield when you're a slow, moving, off your prime heavyweight, right? When Tyson could do that, and the Peekaboo style is reliant upon speed, it's so reliant upon speed and stamina. If Tyson could do that to Holyfield then, in my opinion, it's very simple and plain. Mike Tyson, at his best, annihilates Evander Holyfield. He beats him with ease. Because if he can win rounds against Holyfield then, and hurt Holyfield, and hurt Lennox Lewis, if Mike Tyson in his young, youthful prime, in the days of Kevin Rooney, Cus D'Amato, when he fought Larry Holmes even, when he fought Trevor Berbick, you're telling me if Evander Holyfield was there standing in front of Mike Tyson, holding the heavyweight championship, and Mike Tyson had to take it away from him, he wouldn't be able to? I'm sorry. I tend to disagree. Even the great Muhammad Ali and George Foreman and Joe Frazier, even they would have their hands full for 5-6 rounds against Mike Tyson. The one that went in against Trevor Berbick, Larry Holmes, the young iron Mike Tyson was definitely something to behold. And I say this, man, again and again, his power that hurt Lennox Lewis, that hurt Evander Holyfield, where he won rounds against Holyfield, you know? And this is when he was shot. The young prime Mike Tyson, I'm sorry, man. I can't say that. And you know another thing, people love to like look at Joe Louis and Jack Johnson. Any boxing before Muhammad Ali, in my humble opinion, I think is you can't compare them to the fighters of later on, because boxing are developed, you know? Boxing are developed in terms of the footwork, the speed. It became more of a bounce, because Muhammad Ali introduced speed and good footwork to the heavyweight division. Before that, there wasn't really anyone with tremendous bouncy footwork. I mean, you can look at some old fighters who had some good footwork, but no one really had the footwork of Muhammad Ali. And even Mike Tyson's footwork is unreal. It's really, really good. Really, really fast.